Namaskaram, Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 5th sloka. In this sloka, Bhagavan explains the answer. That is, Arjuna asked Bhagavan 7 questions. So in the previous slokas, Bhagavan explained, he gave answer for the 6 questions. This is the answer for 7th question. So he starts from this sloka onwards. Bhagavan starts giving answer for Arjuna's 7th question. So 5th, 6th and 7th slokas deal with how we should realize Bhagavan, how we should remember Bhagavan at the time of death. So the 6 questions were about the terms Bhagavan used, like karmam, adhyatmam, then adibhutam, adidaivam, adiyajnam, so on. So he explained. And he explained in detail what are the things or the facts to be realized by Kaivalyarthi and by Aishwaryarthi and those who think of Bhagavan and want to be with the Bhagavan. So here the 7th question is answered. The 7th question was how people should think of you, should remember you, in what way they should remember you, they should realize you at the time of death. This was asked by Arjuna to Bhagavan. So Bhagavan explains it. So he starts answering this question here. So the 5th sloka explains this. And he who at the last moment while leaving the body departs, remembering me alone attains my being. Of this there is no doubt. So Bhagavan says, while leaving the body, that is when the soul departs, remembering me alone attains my being. Of this there is no doubt. So it's assuring. When the soul departs the body, should chant his name, we should remember him. So that is what explained here. And whatever we think at the last moment, at the time of death, Bhagavan says, you take that form in the next birth. So you think of me. So you attain me. You get the God-like features. So is that Mat Bhavam. So it's like, that means God-like nature. You will acquire the qualities of me. That is what Bhagavan says. We cannot become Bhagavan, but we attain the qualities, some of the qualities of Bhagavan, if we think Bhagavan at the time of death. So our mind should be thinking of his name, or should be thinking of his deeds, thinking of his leelas, or thinking of his abodes. So our concentration is only on God. So the God realization takes place. So he says one can achieve God realization by absorbing he absorbs one's mind in transcendental names of Bhagavan. So we should do it consciously. So for this, we should start practicing from early stage. So this happens. So sometimes what happens, we think, if I am very medically in a very bad condition, or if I lose my consciousness, or I will not be in my mind, we don't know what will happen and how my brain works at that time. So how will I think? This is a general doubt we all have. That is why Bhagavan says, there is no doubt if you think of me. So we do it consciously. So what happens? Whatever we do, it gets registered in the subconscious mind. So that from subconscious mind, it comes to conscious mind. That is what happens at the last moment. So you think of him always. This is the message we take. Because we have a doubt, will I be in a position to think of him? Because we don't know how our health condition will be at that time. So the message, the value we take is, let's think of him always, so that the mind it gets absorbed in Bhagavan's names. So your mind will be thinking of, so that subconscious mind will be thinking of him, and whatever thing at that time we take that form. So he says, for Kaivalyarthi, you think of me connected to what the result what you want. So Kaivalyarthi, they will be thinking of only the state of Atma. So for Aishwaryarthi, those who want wealth, so you think of me connected to that. Whatever you pray, whatever you want, so you connect me with that and think of me. Then Bhagavalya Prati, those who want to be in the presence of Bhagavan, you think of the qualities of me. So let's think of divine qualities of Bhagavan, so that we reach that, the higher stage, which is considered to be the superior stage, to reach him, to reach Paramapada, to reach Vaikuntha, and get out of this cycle of birth and death. So this is what Bhagavan says. So think of me at that time. So we may think, why people vary in their gunas, and you find some people, they look or you feel that they are very bad people, but they are living happily, they have got everything in their life, and they have a very rich life, very peaceful life. We think so, very prosperous life. But all depend on our karma. So here law of karma has to be understood in this sloka. We may think Duryodhana was a healthy person. Duryodhana had everything in his life, but what happened to him? So why he was wealthy, whereas Panchapandava, they went to the forest? Again, Bhagavan says, it depends on the karma. So what we did in the previous births, we are enjoying that result here in this birth. So what we do in this birth, that will be carried on to our next birth. So this is what happens. So when the soul leaves the body, it takes the subtle form and it travels with the gunas and the effect of karma, what we do. So the result of that karma is enjoyed by us in the next birth. So that is why Bhagavan says, at the time of death, you think of me. So what happens? All the karma vasana is burnt, is destroyed when we think of his name. What happened to Ajamilan? Ajamilan, he called his son. His son's name was Narayana. But immediate at the time of death he called. Then immediately the messengers of Lord Vishnu appeared there. And on the other side, the messengers of Yama already there. And Vishnu messengers appealed to Yama's messengers to leave, because he called Vishnu. When Yama's messengers said, no, he did so many sins, then the Vishnu's messengers said, no. He chanted, he called, he mentioned Bhagavan's name. So all his pavams, all sins have been removed. So this is the greatness of Bhagavan's Nama. So that is why Bhagavan says, you chant, you think of me at the time of death. So this is what happened in Ajamilan case. In Jadabharatan life, he was a king and he gave up his possession and he went to the forest and he started leading a saintly life. But what happened? He saw a deer, the young deer, the newborn deer suffering because the mother died, and he brought the deer with him and he started keeping it with him, and he started thinking that if anything happens to me, who will take care of this deer? So there was so much of attachment towards the deer. So he got deviated from his daily routine, the routine of doing meditation on Bhagavan. So what happened? Even at the time of death, he was thinking, because that the deer went off one day, it was lost. So Jadabharatan was thinking of only deer at the time of death. So in the next birth, he was born as deer. Because he was a very staunch devotee of Lord Vishnu, and because of his good deeds, he could realize what was he in the previous birth, and he was very, and he thought, I have done this, so I have to undergo this. And even that life gone, then in the next birth he was born again as a human being, and he was very firm in not getting attached to anything, and he kept on remembering only God, he kept on chanting his name. So this is what we learn from the story of Jadabharatan. So what we think at the time of death, we take that form in the next birth, and what the karma we do in this birth, that will have effect on the next karma. So we cannot think that that person is very happy, he is very wealthy, and he got everything. Why I am only suffering? Though I am a good person. Yes, you are a good person. Go in a dharmic way. That will have effect in the next birth. What we did in the previous birth, we are suffering now. So how to remove that suffering? How to get out of that pavam or bad karma? When you chant his name, Bhagavan's name, when you are in thoughts of only Bhagavan, all the effects of the karma what we did in the previous births are wiped out. So this is the beautiful message we get from this sloka, and it makes us face the life. Let's not have any fear towards death, because after all, if we are human beings, everyone is undergoing that. But we have to accept this is life. Life has got birth and death, and instead of getting afraid of it, let's have thoughts of only Bhagavan. So he is the one who takes us across. He takes us with him. So that is what we want. So the goal of this life is to reach Bhagavan only, to reach Vaikuntha. So we should, then God is explaining how to reach him. So let's follow this. So we get the beautiful message from this, so that our life, we will not be losing the present life, because thinking of that, we lose this. So once what happened, this is a story from one of the books by Ramakrishna Mission. A saint, the lady saint, she was traveling, and she fell sick, and people around her, they took her to the hospital. The hospital was run by all the saints. So they were all there, and they were taking care of her, and she was improving, and she was about to be discharged. But what happened suddenly? She got relapsed, and she was very clear in saying, let us not interfere in the death. So you please get me Ganga water and help me by getting the Ganga water. And they made arrangement and got her ember. So she spread the blanket on the cot and sprinkled water, and she said, I am going to chant, I am going to do meditation on Bhagavan. Let me face it. I know I will not escape from, no one can escape from death. So don't worry. You please don't worry. You all be cheerful. You all be courageous. Nothing will happen. If at all anything happens, I am going to be with Bhagavan only. So let me do my meditation. This is how she faced the death. So this story, because this, she says, Bhagavan says this, she refers this sloka in her conversation, and she said, yes, let us remember him at the time of death and reach him, so that our karma vasana will be wiped out. So here there is a beautiful pasuram by Nammalvar, who explains this in much more detail. இளைப்பாய் இளையாப்பாய் நெஞ்சமே சொன்னேன், இளைக்க நமன் தமர்கள் பற்றி இலை பெய்த நாய் தந்து மோதாமல் நல்குவான் நல்காப்பான் தாய் தந்தை எவ்வுயிர்க்கும் தான். This is from Periya Tiruvantadi. And in this, the meaning of this pasuram is, O heart, he is the father, Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the father, mother of all creatures, and he will give us his grace and protect us when we are feeble. So at the time of death we become feeble. So he says that, and the messengers of Yama come bringing their dogs and make them bark at us. Oh heart, don't worry, don't worry. So this is the meaning of this pasuram. So Alvar is preparing us to face death. So he says, no, don't worry, he is there. He is there to protect you. So let us not get into the hands of these dogs. Instead, let us pray to Bhagavan to take us to his abode. So let's chant his name. So he is there. He is the mother and father of all creatures. So, oh heart, you think of him, you chant his name. Do not worry, do not worry. So these beautiful pasurams take us to realize the reality. So this birth and death is inevitable. You have to face it. So how to face it? That is what Arjuna's question. He asked Bhagavan, how do we realize you? How do we know you? How can you remember you at the time of death? So that's the seventh question he asked. So Bhagavan answered. He started answering, and he will be continuing this in the next two slokas. And the entire chapter deals with that. Here we have the pasurams by all the Alvars, which give us more explanation and make us prepare practically. So let's follow that and have a peaceful life, and when we are alive, let us be in thoughts of Bhagavan to reach Him.